Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the final Sperry Sessions of our 47th season. My name is Lauren Bryan, and I'm the Executive Director of Oregon Repertory Singers, and we're so glad you're here, and we have a lovely evening of music and conversation planned for you, including small group performances by members of our adult choir. It is through the generous support we've received over the last year that projects such as the Sperry Sessions have been able to take place. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time to share their love of ORS through emails and letters or with a financial gift. In particular, I want to thank our GEM, our Give Every Month supporters, for their sustaining gift that has had the most significant impact on our stability this year. I can say without an ounce of hesitancy that this group of treasured GEM supporters has made the biggest difference for our organization. You too can be a part of this invaluable group of supporters by making a commitment today to being a GEM for just $10 or more a month. We have weathered the last season in much better standing than we expected, but we believe our upcoming season, while we're optimistic we'll be one step closer to a traditional season, will present continued challenges for us. Your support now gives us comfort and stability as we start a new chapter, a new season. If being a GEM is not right for you at this time, I ask you to please consider a gift equivalent to a concert ticket, $10, $20, $30 to showcase your support for our programming efforts today. Finally, our 47th season is coming to a close, but we couldn't let it pass without putting together just one more final concert for you. A full virtual concert of Renaissance music performed by 4 small group ensembles from Oregon Repertory Singers. It's about as close as you can get to actually being at a concert. And today, you can reserve your spot at this virtual event. Now, you must secure a reservation to attend this concert, and you can do that now on our website at orsingers.org. Our spring virtual concert, Renaissance, will air on Wednesday, May 19th at 7 p.m., and you will hear much more about what you can expect to hear at this concert from Ethan later on in the show. We hope you will join us. And now I turn it over to Dr. Ethan Sperry, who sits down with former Artistic Director of Oregon Repertory Singers, Gil Seeley, for part 2 of the Sperry Sessions. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting Oregon Repertory Singers.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Ethan Sperry, and I'm the Artistic Director and Conductor of the Oregon Repertory Singers. And welcome to tonight's program on the choral music of Felix Mendelssohn. I'm really honored to be joined tonight, as I was a few weeks ago, by my predecessor, Gil Seeley, who ran the Oregon Repertory Singers for 35 years as the Artistic Director and Conductor, and built this tremendous legacy that I've been fortunate enough to inherit and take the group through its next period. I'm up here at Gil Seeley's house in White Salmon, Washington, and fortunately for both of us, we've both been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, so we can sit here and talk about music like normal people used to just over a year ago. You might notice that Gil and I are wearing the same clothes as 3 weeks ago, and that might be because these 2 shows were recorded on the same day. I don't know, anything's possible. Gil will be joining us in a minute, but we're going to begin today's show with just a really fun arrangement of one of Mendelssohn's solo songs called the Hexenlied. Mendelssohn is so well known as a symphonist and especially as a composer of chamber music, but he wrote so much choral music and solo songs that's equally good, and I'm glad to champion them tonight. The Hexenlied is the Witches' Chorus, and so you'll hear some of the sopranos and altos of the Oregon Repertory Singers actually performing this piece live. They actually rehearsed together, singing in cars, which we can talk more about at another time. It's one of those great technical innovations of the COVID period, is being able to all rehearse choral music in our cars in the parking lot of Cedar Hills United Church of Christ. We're very thankful to them for making that possible. And here we go with the Witches Chorus. So Mendelssohn, as a choral composer, is probably best known for writing what are called part songs. Pieces that could have been sung with just one singer on a part or a full chorus, might have been after-dinner entertainment, might have even been for sort of middle-class people to sing in their homes. Something we often forget about is that most of our favorite classical composers lived in a day when recorded music wasn't available. So if you wanted to hear music, you needed to go to a concert or you needed to be able to perform it yourself. And I think so much of these part songs were something that a family could get together and sing. I know you did a number of part songs at various points with ORS, and you were just showing me this amazing recording. Where are you about this genre and what Mendelssohn is trying to get at?
Well, he wrote, I think, 79 part songs.
Yeah.
Both for women's mixed chorus and male chorus.
Yeah.
I love them because I don't know them all. It takes a long time to get to know them all.
Yeah.
But I love his harmonic language.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to me. It's pure romanticism all the way. And he was so good. He was such a bright person. Lived to be only 38 years old, a little older than Mozart. But very special. And I found something on this new recording that I found very interesting. I didn't know about this. If I could read this.
Yeah, please.
That Mendelssohn would insist the theme of his song center on the forest and its greenery is consistent with his conception that the music be enjoyed outdoors. So there you go, Ethan, outdoors.
Yeah.
As if in communion with nature. Indeed, on probably more than one occasion, the composer tried to realize his vision by performing his choral songs in a sylvan setting. One description survives in a letter he wrote to his mother after joining a chorus of 20 amateurs deep in a forest not far from the city. How lovely the song sounded, how clear the sopranos trilled in the air, and what a glow and charm enveloped all the pitches. Everything so quiet and furtive and yet so clear that I could not have imagined. He goes on to talk about there were only 20 singers and they sounded better outdoors than indoors. So his music represents a kind of both outdoor music and house music. People sit around in the homes. We love the idea of a quartet or 8 singers singing these songs. He was a real humanist in that sense.
Well, you've definitely inspired the next generation of COVID-friendly concerts here. I guess that'll be the next step after these video sessions. So we're going to listen to 2 live performances now, one from the full choir from just a year ago of Die Nachtigall,
yes.
and one by a small group of singers just performing live here in town of Lerchengesang. I know these are both songs you also programmed with rep singers, and they're both about birds.
Oh, I've done Die Nachtigall 6 or 7 times. And our dear friend Dinah Dodds, who was my colleague at Lewis and Clark, passed away, and the singers sang this in her memory, a wonderful tribute.
Yeah.
She loved all things German and a lot of other things, but she loved Goethe and the poets of Germany. So this was a tribute to her.
Yeah, we have that on the sad side, and then the Lerchengesang, the lark who leads us to the sun and to the brighter
that leaps off the page.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum. I love the way it just tackles, gets right in there and goes to the lark jumping around.
Excellent. So some Mendelssohn part songs sung by members of the Oregon Repertory Singers.
Thank you.
I just love those pieces, and especially the Lerchen Gesang. It is hard not to be happy after hearing that. Mendelssohn also wrote on a much larger scale, so now it is time to go big. I would say it's time to go big or go home, but you're probably all already at home. So we're going to move on to Psalm 114. This is a major piece that you did with Rep Singers. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I heard the recording of this one day. I hadn't known it at all. I knew about the work, basically, but I'd never heard it in my life. I was so moved by the way he handles, I think 8 parts, maybe 10. It's at least 8 parts. He just was so adept in handling these textures on a more massive scale. So 114 to this day, one of my favorite all-time pieces. I love it. And I wish other choirs would do it. It's such a wonderful piece. I did some other pieces, a Kyrie with strings, and then some other psalms, Psalm 43, Psalm 40. He was a big psalm composer.
Well, and I have a guess about this because Mendelssohn, of course, was born Jewish and converted to Christianity, and then back to Judaism and back to Christianity, and it seems very much just seeking social acceptance.
Oh, I think that's right.
And of course,
a little bit like Mahler in Vienna.
Yeah, and then if you're trying to be Christian, and writing a psalm setting is certainly acceptable Christian music, but it's part of the Old Testament, and I just wonder if these texts.
Oh, I think there's
resonated with him in those
I think
ways.
there's much to what you're saying. I absolutely do.
Yeah. So tell us about you and Mendelssohn, and where this all fits for you.
Oh, I never tire of Mendelssohn. I guess I hear it like a lot of Dvorak. People don't know a lot of Dvorak.
Yeah.
I hear the Dvorak. Some of those pieces, including the a cappella pieces, they have an honesty, an overworked word maybe, but an honesty of expression. And they go to the heart of spiritual ideas, very much. And Mendelssohn's like that for me. He really, his psalm settings are extraordinary. The a cappella ones, and then this Psalm 114 I did with chamber orchestra.
Yeah. And
the instrumentalists, none of them knew it. No, I don't think it had ever been done on the West Coast. We did it. And I was so glad we did it because it really spoke richly.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear it. So this is a major production, over 10 minutes long. And again, thanks to everyone for creating video for this pre-existing audio. The Oregon Repertory Singers, conducted by Gil Seeley. God, what an amazing piece and an amazing effort, the first West Coast performance of that Psalm 114. And I guess the next step up from that is Elijah, major 3-hour oratorio that I actually got to conduct with the Rep Singers and with Richard Zeller as Elijah, and then all the other soloists cast from within the choir.
Yes.
With the Vancouver Symphony a few years ago. But you were just telling me, like, where did you first encounter music from Elijah?
In my mother's church choir in Paw Paw, Michigan. Church choir with my father and my two brothers and I. We were mostly the men's section, not complete. We were mostly it. And Mother did good, high quality music. Mm-hmm. She had been to the Fred Waring workshops in Delaware Water Gap, Pennsylvania in the 40s to learn about choral music. So one Sunday morning, she brought out He Watching Over Israel. And I said, oh, beautiful piece. Beautiful piece. I felt that piece did it for me. Yeah. And that was my first exposure. And a young boy remembers those things. If you're musical.
Yeah.
So,
and this piece too, it's one of the first choral pieces I encountered.
There you go.
And it's one of those things for these oratorios like Elijah or the Creation, which we talked about last week, or the Messiah. They are these 3-hour-long works, but many of us just encounter one movement, and it can change our whole life. It doesn't have to be the whole 3 hours. And one of my favorite stories in the choral world, I've met many choir directors that were in this room. It's a legendary story of Robert Shaw conducting the Iowa All-State Honor Chorus decades ago in a gym in Iowa. And there was a power failure in the gym before the closing number, which was, again, supposed to be He Watching Over Israel.
Oh my gosh.
And the story is that power failure, the gym goes dark, but it's the middle of the day and somebody cracks a door to the gym and a beam of light comes through the doorway and hits Robert Shaw's hands. And he, in this moment, conducts He Watching Over Israel.
Love it.
And so many people like Ann Howard Jones, who were in that choir, became famous choir directors after that, moment of inspiration. And Elijah is this massive undertaking, but so many of them, the female trio, Lift Thine Eyes, He Watching Over Israel, He That Shall Endure.
It Is Enough. Solo, It Is Enough. I remember that as a boy. Oh.
Yeah. Some of these are arias, but they are just some of the greatest pieces. They form together into a 3-hour whole that we cannot present to you in this format. But you're going to hear just some of the most famous things, and we encounter them still in as church choir anthems and just as the soundtracks of our lives. And this piece has influenced so many of us. So,
boy, did he know counterpoint well, Mendelssohn.
Oh, yes.
Counterpoint.
Yeah. The ability to take one theme and then a second theme and then combine them together.
That's right.
Yeah. So many other composers, they must go A-B-A, but Mendelssohn can go A, B, and then both together. And
just a little thing about He Watching.
Yeah.
Every time I heard other choirs sing that, I swear they rushed the 2/8 notes on watching. It drove me crazy. He watching, oh, He watching, oh. Oh, it drove me batty. Robert Shaw said the 8th and 16th notes have as much right to live as the quarter notes.
That's right. His other saying, consecutive notes of equal value.
Yes.
Always rush.
Yes.
And my other favorite, which is how you get this together, subdivide and conquer.
Subdivide and conquer. That's good.
Yeah. All right, so enjoy a few of my favorite movements of Elijah with the Oregon Repertory Singers and the Vancouver Symphony. One of the things I'm loving about the past few weeks is the chance to really make music again with Oregon Repertory Singers live. And we're so thankful to St. Philip Neri Catholic Church in Southeast Portland, who's let small groups rehearse there. They've upgraded their ventilation system, and they just have such exquisite acoustics and are willing to let us sing there. You're enjoying some of those performances. And then Cedar Hills United Church of Christ out in Beaverton, who invested in the car choir system that allowed some of our members to rehearse while in the safety of their own cars. And you're going to hear those groups again in 3 weeks sing a concert that we're calling Renaissance, the word for rebirth, music from the Renaissance period and the early Baroque, and a much more diverse concert than we're used to hearing. There's a message in our society that I certainly absorbed in school, because most of the music that I performed was by white men, maybe all of it, dead white men. And so we're left thinking that those were the only great composers in the Renaissance and Baroque and classical and Romantic periods, and that's not true. And if you don't believe me, tune in again in 3 weeks and see what we've got in store for you. Gil, thanks so much for having me out here and for being our guest for these past 2 sessions. It's been such a joy to just get to share this, even in this weirdest of all times.
Well, it's been my pleasure for you to come out to my house and help me in that way. It's really been a wonderful experience, and you've done a great job with so many things, and you're a good interviewer too. So I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for helping keeping ourselves afloat here and having some content and sharing some of the highlights of your time with the group, and just being part of this legacy is a really
Well,
special
it's like
thing.
lickety split. It goes by in a hurry.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while you can. You're in the best profession in the world. In my opinion, I never regret having gone into music, that's for sure.
So we've come to the end of our time on Mendelssohn, and we're going to end on a little bit of a sad, but I think an important note. I've been trying, especially in the time of COVID, to keep our musical offerings as upbeat and hopeful as possible, because I think that's what we really need from music. But one of Mendelssohn's most beautiful choral pieces is his setting of Beati Mortui. Blessed are the dead, for their works live after them. And for any of us who have lost someone through this tragedy, through this pandemic, I think this piece might be one of the best and most beautiful ways to process that and realize that we all leave important things behind. It's not absolutely the end, and there is this blessing. And you hear that. We were talking about Mendelssohn's faith. You hear it coming through in this psalm setting. So for all of you in that place, this is where we'll leave you for tonight. And in a few weeks, we'll have some Renaissance music and some rebirth. But for right now, blessed are they that we have lost.